Trade deadline 24 hours early. We've had at least 6 trades just today. Welcome to Pass the Rock.
Could one of y'all pass the gosh darn rock? Hey, yo, I'm trying, I ain't lying, and hosting this will be Brian. He posting like Kobe Bryant, he flying to see the pilot. Hit the hezzy, we got Jesse, opinions get kinda messy. A fan of Atleti's from football to racing jet skis. This is Pass the Rock, don't stop the shot clock. Pass the slap shot, come on, now let's talk Pass the Rock.
There's so much going on today in sports. We'll do a quick introduction. We have to get to it because there's so much stuff. We even bumped a Lost Tribe athlete interview to next week because we had too much to talk about today. Jack, how you feeling today?
I'm doing great. It's my favorite part of the baseball season, and I'm so excited to talk about it.
Your favorite part of the baseball season where the Dodgers realized we spent a bunch of money on the wrong thing, and now we can make it right. Over to you, Zach. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It would be better if the Phillies would actually wake up and do something. But hey, it's trade season. You can't be sad during trade season. It's the best time of the year in any sport.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a Padres fan. We've been selling ever since the 1998 World Series sweep to the Yankees. So it looks as though we're buyers this year. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we'll get a little breaking news today while we're on. A couple of quick hits. First of all, if you have not joined the Lost Tribe Fantasy Football League, please do so. There's the link right there, losttribe.org/event/fantasy football. It's free to play, and you can win prizes, $60 game gift card of your choice to the winner. And it's always a lot of fun. So check that out on our website. We are going to be having a Lost Tribe Fantasy Football Draft stream on August 29th. That'll be part of our Lost Tribe or Pass the Rock stream that night. It's going to be awesome. The three of us will be in it, plus about 9 or so of our coworkers. And there's going to be great picks and there's going to be terrible picks. And we'll tell you how each one of those goes. So pretty exciting. Check that out. Real quick. Bill Russell passed away yesterday, 88. NBA legend, sports legend. Did a lot for society. Related to everything he did with race relations, and he was the first ever NBA head coach that was an African American, and only won 8 titles in a row and 11 total. Jack, any thoughts on Mr. Russell?
Yeah, I mean, just an incredible basketball player, absolute legend, and an even better man. So, I mean, I don't know what more you can say about him. He's just rest in peace. Prayers to his family. He was an absolute legend.
Absolutely. Zach, to you, any thoughts?
I mean, you can't help but respect what he did over his life. I mean, an amazing person through and through, and of course, an amazing basketball player. But the man is more than the idea of the basketball player. Amazing with all of the civil rights movement actions. So will truly be missed, but I'm glad that he died peacefully.
Yep. Yeah. No, look, anytime I always overemphasize championships. So Bill Russell will always be number one to me. But when you talk about greatest legends of the game, and obviously the longer you get from when a player played, the less they're going to come up. But he should always be in that group named with Jordan and I almost said Pippen, not going Pippen, Jordan and Kobe, and obviously everybody playing today, Mr. LeBron James. So, but quite a legend. A great stat I heard this morning. He played in 52 games where it was a winner-take-all, whether that be in college or in the pros, and he won every single one of them. So never lost a Game 7, never lost, just unbelievable. So let's move on. Let's hit a few news and notes before we get to a lot to break down for the MLB trade deadline. We also have a little AFC East preview coming your way. Julio Jones to the Bucks. A lot of people are making a lot of noise about this signing. Zach, tell me, are you on the side of this is huge, or are you on the side of I'm not really into it?
I don't think it's necessarily a huge move considering that the wide receiver group in Tampa Bay is already really good. I mean, I'm thinking he'll be like a wide receiver 3 only because he's getting a little bit older, but I definitely see the upside here. I mean, it is still Tom Brady throwing the ball. He will, spread the ball across to his receivers. Fantasy wise, I see like a flex upside with Julio Jones at the very least. Like, I think it's a good move. Like, you can't say it's not a good move. It's like having Julio Jones as your wide receiver 3 is pretty impressive for any team to say.
Yeah, look, he's definitely a person you want as your wide receiver 3. I don't think he makes a huge splash. I think he's going to be injured at some point. He's just shown that over the last 4 or 5 years. But, whatever they had in camp, some rookie that, was going to maybe try to crack a 4 wide receiver set every once in a while. You like to have Julio Jones. Maybe he replaces those catches that Gronk's not going to get, although they, signed other folks for that. Jack, your thoughts on Julio?
Yeah, I'm not like over the moon, right? I'm not like, okay, the Bucs are winning the Super Bowl because they signed Julio Jones, but it's you can't say it's a bad signing, right? The more weapons for Brady, the better it'll be. And sure, maybe he gets hurt after 2 weeks, as he tends to do, but
Yeah.
I mean, you get what you can get out of Julio, and when he's on the field, he's going to be a productive football player. So I think it's definitely a good thing for the Bucs to have him on the roster.
Yeah, the tough thing is going to be in week 2. You got to come to the Superdome and play the Saints, where he's got more fumbles against the Saints in his career than he has touchdowns. So let's remember that. That's 8 versus 7. So another hot stat of the day. I got 2 already. So the Panthers quarterback battle. I guess we just hang out in the NFC South for a little bit here.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold splitting first-team reps. Is this just for the press to make it feel like it's fair, or do you actually think, Jack, that they're not going to start Baker?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? You would not think that they would go out and trade for Baker if they didn't plan on starting him. But I mean, Sam Darnold is still young, I guess, and maybe they still think they see something in him. I'm not entirely convinced that this is a press thing. I think this might actually be a legitimate battle, and it's one that I think Baker will win in the end. But it could be legit. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, look, Darnold was drafted 2 spots after him, both in the top 3 of the 2018 draft. So, and the same point you just made, I was making earlier today talking to someone. Yeah, they traded for Darnold the same way. So why wouldn't they have, started him? They're a mess. I think both of these guys are mediocre, and it'll be interesting. Zach, which way do you think they end up?
I think it'll be Baker at the end of the day. I mean, I feel like this whole battle is only because Sam Darnold are like, hey, we gave up a lot for him. Let's see if he still has any upside for him. We got to at least give him a chance considering what we paid for him. See if there's anything there worth, looking at, maybe worth showing other teams for trades. I don't think this is going to be, a hard battle for Baker to win. I'd be shocked if he doesn't start week 1. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's kind of weird that it's like an ongoing battle, but I feel like it's Baker's to lose.
Speaking of disgusting quarterback battles, let's talk about your Steelers, Jack. Matt Canada says Mason Rudolph could end up being the starter. Please explain to me what's going on. You have Trubisky, you have Mason Rudolph, who still has a dent in his head from the helmet that hit him. And then my man Kenny Pickett, whose hands are too small.
Yeah, I was so disgusted when I read that Mason Rudolph report. I honestly, I thought the guy was going to get cut before the season. And now you're telling me that he's in contention to be our starting quarterback? I mean, you've got to be kidding me. I don't think we would win a single game with Rudolph at quarterback. The guy is awful. I've seen more than enough. I can't even take to see him touch the field this year. But I also read a report today that it is Trubisky's job to lose, which I think makes sense. I personally would start Pickett and let the young guy play because I don't see much in Trubisky. But it is what I thought the Steelers would do when they brought in Trubisky and drafted Pickett. So I think it ends up being Trubisky, and this Rudolph thing, it gets on my nerves to even think about it being a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not a top 5 overall drafted quarterback, within the draft, it's hard to start week 1. Kenny Pickett, I guess he was drafted in the 20s or so. And I could see them waiting till week 5, week 6 or whatever. But if they're bringing Mason Rudolph up, that just means that it's just a debacle back there. I am excited. Saints at Steelers this year. So we don't get to play in Heinz Field, but, going to the 49ers, Trey Lance starting over Jimmy G. I think that's the perfect decision. Zach, where'd you land on that?
I mean, I think it's a solid decision. I mean, the front office seems really, really set on Trey Lance. I mean, you guys did mention a few weeks back that the offense is kind of built around Trey Lance's, how he plays instead of Jimmy G's now. So if that's what the front office wants to do and they're confident in it, then can't be a wrong decision. I mean, the 49ers have proved to have a pretty solid front office over the years. It's just going to be really interesting seeing where Jimmy G ends up because, I mean, he could be riding the bench, but I can think of some teams who need quarterbacks, but I'm not thinking of any teams who are desperate for Jimmy G to be their quarterback. So
yeah, especially with the quarterbacks available in next year's draft, I don't think you're going to see him go for first of all, not going to trade him in a division because that's not what they do in the NFL. So he's not going to go to the Seahawks. I think he will have to be a backup, but I do think he has some productive NFL years left. He reminds me of a quintessential 80s, 90s quarterback that's got an unbelievable defense on the other side, and all you have to do is manage the game. I think he's perfect at that. He's not going to go out there and throw for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, but I think he's still got plenty of a career, and I think he'll see. I think the 49ers will probably wait and see what happens the first couple of weeks. Somebody loses a quarterback, and then they can get something for Jimmy G. Debo signed to an extension, $75.3 million over 3 years, $58.1 guaranteed. He's got incentive clauses in his contract for rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. So obviously they've come to an agreement that he's going to be playing the Debo Samuel role, which is a little bit of running back, a little bit of wide receiver. Jack, how do you like that money for that guy? And where do you think he fits within the 49ers scheme now with a with a second-year quarterback who's never really played much?
No, I think it's awesome. I think it's a great move. I think that, I mean, we call it the Debo Samuel role because he's the first one to do it. So, we know that this works for him. We've seen him have by far the best year of his career in that role. And I think he's 100% worth the money. He had a phenomenal year last year, and he's young and getting better. I think it's a great move for the Niners. I mean, who can play that role better than the guy that you designed it for? So I think it's a great move. I think that Trey Lance will be a good quarterback in that sort of option, Debo cutting into the backfield type system, or maybe you involve the quarterback run a little bit now that you have a quarterback with legs. So that I'm excited to see it. I think that it's going to be a fun pairing, and I can't wait to see what Shanahan does with them.
And lastly, we can't go through today without the breaking news from the NFL that Deshaun Watson is going to get a 6-game suspension, no fine. Everybody's pretty up at arms about it because of all the players that have had worse, whether it's gambling, whether it's marijuana possession, or whatever. We have things hanging over, with Alvin Kamara getting arrested at the Pro Bowl last year. How does he get only 6 weeks? And, this puts the Browns firmly back in the conversation of the AFC North and the AFC in general, let's say. Because in the end, 6 weeks isn't going to make a season. They can still make the playoffs pretty easily. I can tell you that I'm doing a slow draft, best ball, which is where you draft a team and then the computer puts in your best lineup each week based on how many points they score. And as soon as the ruling came down, somebody drafted him. So, they were just waiting for that to happen. Zach, your thoughts on Deshaun Watson?
I mean, just thinking about the actual 6-week suspension is kind of ridiculous considering he only got 2 weeks more than Tom Brady did for deflating balls. He got way less than a lot of players did. That a lot of players were ostracized for using marijuana in the past, and they've been banned for entire seasons or have been indefinitely suspended from the league. Calvin Ridley this past offseason gambled $1,500 on his team, which is pretty much nothing in NFL money, and he's suspended for the entire year. He was, coveted by different teams because he was a free agent, or maybe he was being shopped for trades. So to see this stance being taken by the NFL, I don't care if it's from a judge. The fact that the NFL is still going to enforce the judge's ruling, they have 3 days to change it. I hope they change it. But it is a very sad day to be a female NFL fan.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, look, in the end, the Calvin Ridley thing, I get it. Gambling gets into a scary territory. People have to trust the results on the field. I don't even mind that he got an entire year. Watson should have gotten a year plus. I mean, this is just over the top. And Jack, any thoughts on Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, I mean, it's absurd. I think that everything that needs to be said about the situation has been said. It's unbelievable that he's getting less time than a guy that used DraftKings for 1 week or for guys that were in possession of marijuana. I mean, he got a slap on the wrist, and he's a serial sexual predator and got a slap on the wrist. It's unbelievable to me. But from the football perspective, the Browns are going to be really good when he comes back because the person aside, the quarterback, Deshaun Watson, is still a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And when you put that into the Browns offense, when you have those running backs, you have in Chubb and Hunt, and you have Amari Cooper and David Njoku's poised for a big year. I think, this team is going to be in the AFC playoff conversation and potentially be making some noise in the playoffs. So from the football perspective, it definitely makes the AFC playoff race a lot more interesting.
Yeah, if I'm a Steeler or a Bengal fan, I'm just kind of hoping that the Browns brown again, like they do every year, and figure out a way to screw this up. But we'll see how that goes. It'll be really interesting if the NFL pivots in any way, because then it's just going to be lawsuit after lawsuit, and he might start in week 1 because they'll still be trying to figure all that out. But let's go over to some more positive news. The MLB trade deadline and who's going next. We've had tons of trades today, which we'll get to in a second. Let's not bury the lead. Where is Juan Soto going to end up? And I'm going to start with you, Zach, because obviously Jack and I are, as Dodger and Padre fans, we have a particular place we want him to end up.
Yeah, I mean, you guys want him for your teams. They're both front runners right now, but alongside the team that I'm picking, for some reason in my gut, it's just telling me that the Cardinals are going to end up with Juan Soto. For some reason, it's my gut feeling. I mean, we all all 3 teams have young talent in their minor league systems that they can trade away. It's really just who has the best offer. I don't know the prospect list from top to bottom for any of these teams. You guys know your prospect list. I don't think any of us know the Cardinals prospects from top to bottom. But from what has come out, all 3 teams have enticing offers. And I can just see, the Brewers just downgraded with, their team for at least this year, I'm saying. They kind of put themselves on the backslide. I can see the Cardinals making this big move, jumping them for the division. And then, the wild card race is going to be a little less competitive, I think. So that's just my gut feeling that it's going to be St. Louis. But you guys state your cases for your teams now.
Well, I'm going to ask Jack a question first. As far as Soto goes, does whoever he signs with win the NL all of a sudden? If you have these 3 teams, let's say, if he goes to the Padres, are they automatically going to the World Series? Same with the Dodgers, same with the Cardinals.
Well, definitely not if it's the Cardinals. I definitely don't think it's automatic. I think it makes the Cardinals a contender. I think it puts them in conversation, but they're not an automatic World Series bid with Soto. The Dodgers and the Padres, it gets a little different. With the Dodgers, I think that they would almost be automatic if they got Soto. I mean, our top 4 of Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, Freddie Freeman, and Juan Soto is just mind-boggling if that were to actually come to fruition. And the Padres, I'm not sure if it would be automatic, but they are in a much better position than they are right now with Soto. I mean, they are immediately right there with the Dodgers for the NL pennant. So it definitely makes the picture very interesting, and I'm definitely excited to see how that plays out for sure.
Here's a quick question for both of you, because your teams are in the same division. If either of your teams get Soto, do you think that team is a lock to win the division?
It's a pretty big gap right now. That's the only problem with that question.
That's true. That's true. I know it's a gap, but I'm just saying, say your Padres get Juan Soto, do you think that they have a chance to win the division with him?
Right now, they're 12 games back. So is there a chance?
Never say never, honestly. Never say never.
I'm not being negative. I'm just stating the facts. They're 12 games back. I think it would be really tough unless the Dodgers had a major injury. I don't think it happens. The problem is that it doesn't end up necessarily being the NLCS. And that's what you would really want. If one of these teams, if the Padres get Soto, I think if you're a true baseball fan, you want Padres, Dodgers, NLCS. And I think depending on how the wild card shakes out, that might not happen.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That should be the NLCS. That's what everyone would want to see. But no, you're 100% right. if the Padres get Soto, it's likely that they're going to be the 4 seed, right? The top wild card spot, which would mean that assuming that they win their wild card round, they would play the Dodgers in that LDS, which is unfortunate because that is absolutely what everyone wants to be seeing in that LCS.
And then you got garbage on the other side, and then so that becomes the NLCS, you know. But look, and look, the Nationals have said that if we don't get the right offer, which some of the offers have been insane, that they're just going to keep him until next year. So I don't really think that's happening. I think they're just posturing, but we'll see how it falls out. I would love for it to come across the newswire while we're doing this so we can, report it. But let's be real. If you're following Lost Tribe Sports Twitter, you're going to see it as soon as it happens anyway. So let's get over to some of the trades that have happened so far. Josh Hader to the Padres. And let's just say we traded a closer with 27 saves and some extras for a closer with 28 saves. Jack, I know you really wanted to see him on the Dodgers. What do you think the difference is there? You know, how does that impact that NL West race?
I think it's huge for the Padres. I think Josh Hader, his stats, everyone keeps saying, oh, he's having a down year. He's not really having a down year. He had a down month. He was terrible in July. There's no arguing that. And that is probably why the Brewers were like, okay, maybe he's declining. It's time to get rid of him. You know, like trade him while his value is at the highest that it's going to be, which I disagree with. But I really think that he is still the best closer in baseball because prior to the month of July, he hadn't given up a run for almost 2 seasons or something like that. It was like something absurd that he had 0 ERA for 170 games or something like that. Unbelievable. And I think he's had a down month, and maybe a change of scenery is what he needed. And I think he gets right back to that top dominant closer form. And as a Dodger fan, I remember having to face him in the NLCS a couple of years ago. And that was I just remember shaking in my boots every time he came up to the mound. I'm like, we are screwed. This game is over. The guy he's the scariest closing pitcher in baseball.
And you didn't even have to bat. I mean, let's be real. You were just watching it on television. So over to you, Zach. A couple other deals that have gone down. Trey Mancini to the Astros. The Yankees get Frankie Montas and Andrew Benintendi. David Peralta to the Rays.
Got everyone, okay? The Yankees literally got everyone. They literally just buy with all their prospects. All they do is buy. But the one trade guys just talked about, Josh Hader to the Padres, I thought that was probably the biggest move of the day today, besides the Trey Mancini trade, which we're still kind of learning about right now. I think that's also a very big trade. But I'm just going to, I'm going to joke around with this. I'm not moved by the Josh Hader trade because the first team to break Josh Hader and have him allow homers this season were my Phillies. He allowed near back-to-back home runs to Alec Boehm before his amazing month of July. He wasn't really that good. And Matt Vierling. And if you know anything about Matt Vierling, is that he's not known for his bat. He's really not known for much, but he's not known for his bat. So I'm not moved by Josh Hader going to the Padres. I'm not moved. But out of the other trades that we've already seen for this trade deadline, I think the most interesting ones is that Luis Castillo is going to the Mariners of all teams. I was very surprised to see the Mariners win that bid because, I mean, pairing him up with Robbie Ray, who had a really good start to the season at least. You had another ace in Seattle, and I think Seattle's a legitimate playoff contender. I mean, I feel like they already were, but they further legitimized themselves as a playoff contender. And then, I mean, adding Trey Mancini to the Astros is adding, Andrew Benintendi to the Yankees. The rich are just getting richer. So, I mean, I think both are very interesting deals as well, but not nearly as interesting as Josh Hader and Luis Castillo.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's a couple of amazing things? The Mariners, first of all, if you're watching The Captain, the Derek Jeter documentary on ESPN, the Mariners were destroyed by the Yankees so many different times during that run. It was just amazing. So it's good to see them back in the fold. But I have an activity for you guys. Okay, I'm going to give you a list of names of people that haven't gone yet, and I want your predictions for who's going to go and where they're going to go at this trade deadline by 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So we got Josh Bell, Wilson Contreras, Ian Happ, J.D. Martinez, Joey Gallo, Carlos Rodon, Jock Peterson, Noah Syndergaard, Brandon Drury. I'm going to start with you, Jack. What's your prediction from any of those? Obviously, Soto also on that list.
Yeah. Wow. That's a tough one. I think one that stands out to me is Wilson Contreras. That's a guy that's been talked about a lot. It's a big name on the market, and it could really help a contending team. And I think he ends up with the New York Mets. I think that they are in need of a catcher, and God knows Steve Cohen loves to buy. So I would not be surprised that all of the Mets are trying hard to make a big move, and they're obviously out of the Soto race because the Nats would never trade him there. And I think the next best thing that they could do is go after Contreras, and I think they will do that and end up with him.
Yeah, the Mets have been kind of quiet. You haven't heard any real rumors about them, and they're right there as well, based on our predictions. What about you? Looking at that list, Zach, who do you think goes where?
Yeah, I'm going to take Noah Syndergaard. I mean, we haven't really heard too much about Noah Syndergaard potentially moving, but I'm going to be a homer here. There's been a few things with the Phillies. I'm going to say Noah Syndergaard ends up as a Philly, later in the trade deadline, potentially tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen tonight. There really has been no word on him for the past couple days. So I'm kind of just, I'm just kind of throwing a dart on the board. Just Noah Syndergaard to the Phillies, pretty average starting pitcher, which the Phillies do need starting pitching, and it would piss off the Mets. So I mean, personally, I see that as the biggest win out of all the things. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if the Braves do anything to kind of step into this. Obviously, the Yankees have already made a few moves. I think, they might have kicked the tires on Soto, but that's not going to end up happening. It'd be really interesting when they lose Aaron Judge coming up, maybe. Not this year, obviously, after the season. So I think in the end, Wilson Contreras has already said goodbye publicly to the Cubs, in the dugout, which I think is super weird. That we haven't heard anything about him in a landing spot. So that's interesting. I think Syndergaard's a huge pickup for whoever gets him, just to be that fourth starter and just add a little depth to your pitching rotation would be huge. Ian Happ, JD Martinez, Joey Gallo, I think could fit needs here and there, but not going to be earth shattering. And let's be real, we're just all waiting for Soto for that to drop and see where that goes. But it's an exciting time. Last year it was really quiet, and then with about 24 hours to go, it really ramped up. And the Dodgers were the big winners last year, at least until the actual World Series. But let's move on. Let's move on and talk a little NFL. We got our next division to preview, the AFC East. And I'm even going to change our background here so we can get a little football action going here.
Big stuff.
There we go. So the AFC East, the Bills, the Patriots, the Dolphins, and our favorite, the Jets. The Bills last year, first place, 11-6, lost in the divisional. What have they changed, if anything, in order to avoid a third straight disappointing playoff loss, Zach?
I mean, honestly, I don't see much on their roster that really tells me that they've changed a whole lot. I mean, this is still the Bills, though. I'm not going to count out the Buffalo Bills. They've been consistently good for the past couple of years. I mean, their offense is still strong. Their defense is still solid. There's nothing really that, turns me off of the Bills besides losing Brian DeBole. But even then, it's a pretty solid coaching staff there. But they haven't really changed too much that convinces me that they're going to go all the way to the Super Bowl. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I like the Bills. I feel like everyone likes the Bills, but we're just not sure if they're up there with the best of the best.
Some huge news. Chris Boswell, kicker for the Steelers, a new 4-year, $20 million extension.
You got me.
I didn't report it, but I saw that. Oh my God. Huge news for your Steelers. Huge news.
I thought
$5 million. $5 million for a kicker. He probably makes more than all the quarterbacks combined.
12 and a half seed, by the way.
Brian, you just gave me a mini heart attack. I thought Juan Soto.
I was like, hold on, this only happened that I missed, and then I checked.
I literally instantly went to Twitter and started spamming refresh. I'm like, what just happened?
No. I wish it was bigger.
You really,
but I really, I just love that graphic, and I wanted to use it. So there you go.
All
right,
it's very nice.
Back to the Bills. Going over to you, Jack. Von Miller, how he fits in. James Cook. I'm not excited about this team. I can't wait to get to our predictions for this division. What are you feeling about the changes or the upgrades, if any, that they've made? Or is it just the boring, we're going to win a lot in the regular season and then, kind of crap out in the playoffs?
I don't know. I feel like the Bills got better. I think their defense got better. I think their offense stays around the same, although losing Dable is very big. That play calling, he's a phenomenal offensive coordinator and offensive mind in general. So I think they are going to try to run a similar system and just replace him with a different name. But we'll see how that works out. That could be a downgrade. But I do think their defense got better. I think Von Miller does help them out. And they've always been a solid defense, nothing game changing. But maybe Von Miller is that game changer. I mean, he's shown that he still has it. He's not perfect. He's not entirely what he used to be, but he's no slouch. He's still an incredible edge rusher and defensive player and a real force to be reckoned with on the defensive side of the ball the Bills haven't really had before.
Yeah, no, look, me being not that excited about the Bills doesn't mean they won't win this division. It just means that, you got to be able to take that next step. And I just wonder if they've put themselves in a position to do that. Let's move on to the Patriots, who were second in 2021, 10-7, only a game worse than the Bills. However, then they had to go into Buffalo in the wildcard round and lost. Have they done enough to catch them for the regular season title in 2022? Do we still have questions about Mac Jones? Jack, where are you on the Pats?
They're so weird. They're such a weird team. You never want to doubt Bill Belichick is where I'll start. He's one of the greatest head coaches of all time, if not the greatest. And I never want to count him out. But this offense is so it's so bland. There's nothing really getting mixed up. And they never announced an offensive coordinator for this year. Josh McDaniels left to take the Raiders head coaching job, and they just didn't replace him. So it looks like it's going to be some combination of Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia calling plays on offense, which is really weird because they're both historically defensive guys. So it's going to be a really weird thing to see. I'm honestly a little interested to see how it turns out because it's just nothing. It's not like anything I've ever seen before. But it's going to be strange. I don't think their offense is going to be very good, and I think it's really going to hold them back.
Yeah, I think in the end, Belichick, even during the Tom Brady years, other than Randy Moss, did they ever have this unbelievable wide receiver core? No. Do they have one now? No. Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne, the same player 3 times. Not a ton of speed. I don't really see. I mean, for me, you want to get, you just want to get Mac Jones a couple of weapons to do something with. Even though the running backs, nothing, that's going to light up a defense. I don't see how they smudge past the Bills at all. And now you have the Dolphins right behind them, really ramping up their offense. So going to you, Zach, any thoughts on the Patriots? It's so hard to predict because it's just so weird the way Jack said it.
They are weird. They are interesting. And most importantly, they are strange, just like their first round pick. And unless Cole Strange ends up being Doctor Strange, I don't see them winning this division by any means. I really I look at this offense and I look at this defensive roster. Nothing blows me away. Nothing's like, oh, this team's going to be, I like Mac Jones as a quarterback. Other than that, nothing here really makes me believe that this team's going to be competing for anything. Nelson Aguilar, former Eagle, is their wide receiver 4, so he might get used. And other than that, there's not really a lot of names that stand out to me as potential guys that we're going to be talking about midway through the season as, guys that stand out, potential, Pro Bowlers or anything. It's just gonna be a pretty. I can see him going like 8-9 or something, and that wouldn't be a terrible campaign, but it wouldn't be anything crazy. I can see.
Yeah, that's a great strange take, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. It's going to be a strange year for the Patriots. Let's go with that. It'll be a strange year for the Patriots.
Well, let's move on with strange and go to the Dolphins. Third in 2021, 9-8, had a great winning streak, but not enough because of their slow start. Can Tua be accurate enough? Now, we all know he's got Hall of Fame written all over him, if you ask Tyreek Hill. So, but that has not been the case so far. I don't know if he's the best former Alabama quarterback even in the division. Going back to you, Jack, the Dolphins, what are you expecting from them this year?
God, it's really hard. I don't know what to expect from them because I really like what they've done this offseason. If you single out this offseason, I think that although I didn't agree with the firing of Brian Flores and everything that played out from that, I do like the hiring of Mike McDaniel. I think I like he comes straight from Kyle Shanahan, and I'm a big Kyle Shanahan guy, so I like the scheme that's coming over. And the thing that, and of course they traded for Tyreek Hill. How could you forget that? So they definitely improved. On paper, this team is better. The problem for me is Tua. I am not a believer in Tua at all. I don't think he's very good. I don't think his arm is that strong, even though we saw that 65-yard pass, whatever it was, from training camp the other day. But I don't think he has a great arm, and I don't think he's that accurate. And I honestly don't know that he lasts more than a year or two as a starting quarterback in the NFL from here on out. I think that the Dolphins are really going to disappoint some people this year because of Tua.
All right, Zach, to you. Tyreek Hill, where do you have him? Is he a top 10 wide receiver? Or let's just say this, top 10 flex if you had the entire league.
Top 10
is
flex?
He top 10?
I believe so. I actually do believe so. I know that Tua has had his struggles, and I feel like the biggest thing to me for this Dolphins team is that last year they started 1-7 and finished 9-8. Like you don't just do that. You don't just have a season completely turn around like that. If the Dolphins can maintain some kind of winning pattern, I can see them increasing their win total this year. And I think, I don't think Tua makes a giant leap and becomes, the best quarterback in the league all of a sudden. But I do think that he gets better. I mean, it's a new system, sure, with Mike McDaniel, but I feel like he's a good fit for them. I mean, I feel like they can only improve off of last year's momentum. You don't just flip a season from 1-7 to 9-8. You don't just do that. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Miami has, and I think that they will improve this year. So I think Tyreek Hill is a pretty easy lock as a top 10 flex in the league.
One thing that I want to say about that really quick is that that flip from 1-7, what was it, 1-7 to 9-8?
1-7, 9-8.
That was really at the end of the year. That was on the back of that defense. That defense really stepped up, and they started playing really well. And that was a product of Brian Flores that's not going to be there anymore. So I'm not so sure that continues.
Look,
so I'm interested to see.
Look, even if the defense isn't as good, the offense greatly improved. There's an offensive line. They got Teron Armstead, Tyreek Hill. They still have Jalen Waddle. Decent running back group headlined by Chase Edmonds. I mean, I feel like Tua has the tools to succeed, just like Jalen Hurts has the tools to succeed. Both I expect to take a step up to different degrees, of course. But I feel like both will be able to succeed in their year 3 offenses.
I don't think he's top 10 flex. Like if you throw in the running backs, I don't think he's top 10 overall within that group.
Yes.
Okay. I just checked. I just checked Fantasy Pros, and he's ranked as the ninth ranked wide receiver. So at the position, top 10. I think I'm going to let other people draft him this year, and just that'll secure other players for me. Doesn't mean I don't like him, and if he falls to me in the end of the second round or something, I'm not jumping all over that, because he is still Tyreek Hill, can score in any play. But he is going to see a regression, just because you have to see a regression when you don't have Pat Mahomes anymore. So let's move on to the Jets, because I know you're waiting to talk about the Jets. 4-13 last year, obviously last. I think, the Patriots and the Bills are significantly better. I think the Dolphins got a lot better in the offseason. But I think the Jets did some good work as well, and they drafted well. What do we see from Zach Wilson in year 2? And let's, keep it about football. He's got a lot of action going on in his life. But going to you, Jack, what do you see out of Zach Wilson this year?
I mean, going into the draft last year, I was really high on Zach Wilson. I liked him as a prospect better than I liked Trevor Lawrence. I thought that he was going to be the best player out of that class, and he was really disappointing to me last year. I mean, he did not look like the guy that I saw on tape in college, and I would like to believe that he still has what I saw of him in college in him. That athleticism, the mobility, the arm talent. I still think he has that in him. It just needs to get unlocked. And what better way to unlock it than by improving their receiver room substantially and bringing in who, in my opinion, was the best receiver from this draft class in Garrett Wilson, as well as the best running back in the class as in Breece Hall. So he's now on an offense that is significantly improved, still led by Mike LaFleur, who I believe in, brother of Matt LaFleur. And I think that he takes a step up. I don't think he's as terrible as he was last year. And I would almost venture to say that I think he's going to be good. Not great, but good.
Yeah, and let's throw in Corey Davis as the third wide receiver, CJ Uzama, a tight end that can get open and give him some targets. And you said Breece Hall, but there's also Mike Carter. So I think there's a lot of weapons there for them to do something with. And I really like Robert Saleh. I just think he was a great hire when they got him 2 years ago. And I think the Jets take a step up. I think they're still 4th in the division, but I do think they take a step up this year. Zach, any thoughts on the Jets before we get to our fantasy draft?
I mean, I'm pretty much echoing what you guys are saying here. I mean, Zach Wilson, disappointing first year, but honestly, there was nothing around him. Really, nothing was helping him out. I mean, there's weapons now for him. There's a little bit more protection. They went out and got they drafted Elijah Vera Tucker. They signed a few, backups that are pretty decent for that line. Of course, Garrett Wilson should be pretty good alongside Zach Wilson. They've given him tools. So I don't think they're going to be competing for anything, but I feel like we're going to see improvement from the New York Jets. I can see them going up a win or two. Nothing I'm really looking forward to watching, but I expect them to improve.
All right, so let's get to it, okay? The questions are there more than one playoff team? Is there more than one playoff team from this division? Who wins the division? Are there any Super Bowl contenders? And what's your final 4? Jack, to you first.
Ooh. Okay, well, I'll start with I don't think there's more than one playoff team from this division. I think that there's only one, and that is the Buffalo Bills. And I'm going for my rankings right now. Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll take. Let's see. So the bottom of the division is honestly the toughest part for me. I think I'm gonna go. I'll stay conservative and keep the Jets in 4th, even though my gut is honestly telling me to put them ahead of the Dolphins, who I have in 3rd. I really do not believe in Tua whatsoever, and I think that the Dolphins are going to be incredibly disappointing this year, and maybe disappointing enough to be below the Jets. But I'm going to be conservative and put the Dolphins in 3rd and the Jets in 4th. And then I think the Patriots, rock solid as ever, are in 2nd place, finishing 7-10, 8-9, maybe 9-8, not making the playoffs in a very good AFC. And I think that the Bills win the division comfortably and are one of the top teams in the AFC.
Yeah, I think if your predictions for the bottom 3 go as they are, where the 2nd place team is 8-9 or 9-8, then the Bills might be 15-2, 14-3, because that means they get to stack up a bunch of AFC East wins.
Yeah. No, that's what I
Zach,
see. That.
Yeah. Zach, to you.
I agree with Jack with the playoffs at the very least. I think the Bills are the only ones that are going to be making it. Again, I'm seeing, the Patriots likely slide back. I'm not sure because I'm higher on the Dolphins. I'm not sure if the Dolphins are going to be able to improve enough to compete in a very, very competitive AFC this year. But with that being said, my standings, I'm going to have the Jets still in 4th, but I'm going to have the Patriots in 3rd. Again, I'm not really huge on them. I think it's a very weird year for the Patriots. There's not really a sense of direction besides Mac Jones, what he's doing on that team. And besides, sophomore slumps can always happen. Again, high on the Dolphins. I think they edge out the Patriots for that 2nd spot. And then Of course, the Buffalo Bills will be winning this division. They'll be making the playoffs. They're probably not going to – they might compete as like a Super Bowl contender, but I don't see them winning it. Like, I'm not even sure if they're going to be able to make it because, again, the AFC is ridiculously stacked this year. So definitely going to be interesting to see where the Buffalo Bills end up, but I don't think they're making it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, when Jack first said only one team in the playoffs, and then you echoed it just now, I was like, wait a second, let's take a look at this. But it gets scary quick. You have 4 teams in the AFC East that are probably better than everybody but the Bills in this division. Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs, Chargers. You got the Ravens, the Browns, the Bengals in the North. Then you have the Bills. Then you have, let's say, the Colts and the Titans in the South, at least to be part of it. For the Patriots or the Dolphins, the Patriots or Dolphins you have to have one of them. Patriots or the Dolphins to step up and make the playoffs is going to be tough. I think the Dolphins are going to be an absolute disaster. Like, it's going to be worthy of like Sports Center. Tyreek Hill is going to be like pissed off by week 6 because he's not getting the ball in the same volume. And, they don't know how to, get him the ball, I guess, consistently like he was with the Chiefs. I think they're going to be ugly. I think there's an outside chance the Jets jump over them and the Dolphins end up 4th, but I'm not going to predict that. I'm not courageous enough to predict that. But I just think it's going to be an ugly situation. I do agree Patriots 2nd. So Patriots in 2nd, Dolphins in 3rd, Jets 4th, Bills 1st. I do think it's now you guys, convinced me to, after I looked at that list, and because I don't think the Dolphins are going to really jump up too much, that it's only going to be a one team makes the playoffs. It'll be the Bills. I think they end up, because of playing in that division, maybe even with the 1 seed, but then, get upset in week 2 of the playoffs. So I don't think that ends up working out for them. But let's get to the real deal. Everybody came here because of the weekly divisional fantasy draft. So let me get the graphic up because it is time to draft by division. Now, we have done this a few weeks. Now we're back to our original draft position, which means that, Zach, you're going to draft first. And then Jack, you're second, and I will be third. It is a snake draft. We pick 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 receiver, and 1 flex. We don't have a dedicated tight end, but you can obviously draft tight ends if you want. So, Zach, it is to you. You have your pick of anyone in the AFC East.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, there's really 2 guys that stick out to me. This is a pretty weak division when it comes to running backs, so I'm looking at wide receivers. There's 2 guys that stand out. That's Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill. Stephon Diggs is obviously the safer option, and I'm going to go with him for the first pick in this fantasy draft.
Yep.
I saw that, Jack. I saw that. You wanted him.
I was really, really hoping that you would. I mean, Tyreek Hill, I do think, is the better player of the 2.
I'm not saying that Tyreek isn't the better player. I'm saying fantasy-wise, Diggs is the much safer.
No. I know exactly what you're saying, and I would have done the same thing in your position. But because of the position that I'm in now, I think that the obvious pick is to take Tyreek Hill, even though I don't believe in Tua at all. I do think that Tyreek Hill's talent is warranted enough for this pick.
Interesting. I thought Josh Allen might fall to me because of those 2 picks. I was really interested. I figured Diggs would go 1, and then that was the spot I thought maybe Allen would go just because of all this. I'm going to take Josh Allen. Because he's the best running back and the best quarterback still on the board. Now coming back from that, I can't take another quarterback, which is what I really want to do, and just put Josh Allen at running back. There's Chase Edmonds, there's Breece Hall, there's Damian Harris, there's Gabriel Davis, who I think was a flash in the pan, and everybody's going to super overdraft him this year. Jalen Waddle, Elijah Moore. It's really hard. It really got bad real quick. I think in the end, I'm going to go with there's too many running backs in Miami. There's Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, and I don't think anybody gets, any great carry. So I think I can wait for running back when it comes back to me. So, oh my God, it's ugly. It is just so ugly. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet on my Jets pick, and I'm going to take Elijah Moore over Jalen Waddle because I really don't like Tua. So give me Elijah Moore because he showed flashes last year. I think with other options, opposite him with the Jets. He has a decent year, and I'm gonna pair him with Josh Allen, and we'll see where it goes.
Wow.
To you, Jack.
That's interesting. Wow. That is not the move I would have made, but I'll take it. It's okay though. I'll take it. It's your draft. I think that this pick here is pretty easy for me.
Okay.
I think that there is one running back that separates himself from the rest in this division, and I sort of like his offense, and I think that he's got the most upside by far, and that's Breece Hall. I'm going to take the rookie. I think that he by far has the most upside of any running back in this division, and I'm really happy to have him.
I am shocked.
Me too.
That Jalen Waddle has fallen all the way to this pick. I am absolutely shocked. So with my first of two picks, I'm going to take Jalen Waddle, who impressed last season, should impress again this season. I feel like that's a pretty safe flex pick right there. And then staying with safer options, I'm going to go quarterback here, and I'm going to go with Mac Jones. I mean, he had a pretty solid first year. I feel like, Tua, again, higher ceiling, but Mac Jones, safer pick. Going to go with Mac Jones as my quarterback for this team.
Yeah, I think Waddle dropped because I didn't think Jack was going to take Hill and Waddle.
I really thought he was going to go with Waddle. He was right there. So
I thought about it. I just really, I don't know. It's so tough.
There was no way I was taking Hill and Waddle. There was no way I was taking two of Tua's receivers.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah. So I'm on the clock again here.
Yeah.
And you guys both have your quarterbacks now.
Yes,
so there's no point in me taking quarterback here. So it's going to be my flex. What options do I have here? I've got Damian Harris, ew. Chase Edmonds, disgusting. Devontae Parker's gross. I'm going to go for some more upside. My team is very upside based. I'm going to take Garrett Wilson. I like him a lot. I said earlier in the show, I think he's the best receiver in this class. And I'm going to swing for the fences in his rookie year.
I like it. It's a good pick.
No, it's a good pick. I think both Jets receivers, Corey Davis will get a little bit, but I think both will have serviceable stats. I'm just glad that the best running back on the board has dropped to me. I can wait for him to come all the way back. And we cannot trust Mac Jones with these receivers. So we're going to trust Damian Harris. I'm taking him. I like him better than Hall. I think Michael Carter has got a lot to prove this year with them drafting somebody the year after he was drafted. So I think he steps up and they really share the load there in New York. So give me Damian Harris on the first end. Now I have my flex. And in the end, the Dolphins are going to have to give the ball to somebody out of the backfield. I don't trust Gabriel Davis with the Bills. I don't trust Devontae Parker and all those slow receivers with the Pats, although, he's got to throw to somebody. But give me Chase Edmonds. I think he, is going to get the first chance to start in his career, really, because he's been, behind David Johnson and everyone else with the Cardinals. And I think, with a little PPR action, I think he could have some success. And Tua is not going to be able to be accurate deep, but he will be accurate, with those shallow routes. Give me Chase Edmonds.
Okay. Well, I have put myself in some situation here because I need a quarterback, and the two on the board are Zach Wilson and Tua. And I've been very vocal over my hatred of Tua, but I also already have two Jets on my team. So am I really about to rely on three Jets?
It's a stack, baby. It's a stack.
Am I taking three Jets, or am I taking the quarterback that I think might be the worst starter in the NFL next year? I'm going to take three Jets. I'm taking.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to take three Jets. I think that Zach Wilson is a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa, and I'm just going to rely on that. And I have three Jets. Oh, well.
Look, Zach Wilson, friend of the program, okay? Don't sell him short.
Oh, man.
Over to you, right, Zach, to end it. You need a running back.
Yes, and I am kind of surprised that Devin Singletary hasn't been chosen here. I mean, definitely not the not the highest upside here. I mean, I feel like there's some running backs in this division that might have a little bit higher upside. I'm kind of high on Ramondre Stevenson, with potential upside, but I'm going to go Devin Singletary. I think he's just the safest pick here. He's got fringe top 25 running back upside for this fantasy season as a whole, not just in this division. So I'd argue right now he's the most proven and, once again, the safest pick on the board.
All right. All right. We did have a little comment on your Garrett Wilson take. Drunk says Garrett Wilson not better than Drake London. So what's your thoughts on that, Jack?
I entirely disagree. I thought that the Drake London pick at the time of the draft was a terrible pick. I thought that on my board, I had him either 4th or 5th as far as receivers in the class, just because I think he's slow. I don't think he has the speed to beat top-end corners in the NFL. And he is a great jump ball receiver, don't get me wrong, but I think he needed to go to a team with a strong arm quarterback that can hit him on back shoulder throws in order to be successful. And Marcus Mariota or Desmond Ridder, either one of them is probably the polar opposite of that. So I think Drake London is going to be a bust. Honestly, I know it's early to say that, but I'm not a believer in him. And I'm a big believer in Garrett Wilson. So I'm going to stand by that.
Well, I think in the end, both you and Drunk are wrong. And it's Chris Olave because he's the only one that has a real quarterback throwing to him. So, but we will see how that goes. So, okay, going back to you, Zach, one more question. Okay, let's look at who is left. Who is the best player left off the board that did not get drafted? And is it a tight end?
That isn't a tight end? Oh, man. I mean, you kind of...
No. Is it a tight end? Could it be a tight end?
I would argue that Dawson Knox is probably the best left on the board then, since we are including tight ends. I thought you said no tight ends for a second.
No.
Dawson Knox he really came into his own last year as a great safety valve for that Buffalo offense. So I would definitely consider taking Dawson Knox out of who's left. I mean, no tight ends were taken in the draft today. So if you told me to make one more pick, it's probably Dawson Knox.
What about you, Jack?
I mean, I agree that the best player on the board is a tight end, but I highly disagree on the pick. I'm not a big Dawson Knox guy. I think he's all right. I don't think I'm not like an anti-Dawson Knox guy, but I don't think he's better than. I don't think he's the best tight end in this division. I'm not sure that he's the second best tight end in this division. So I would take Hunter Henry out of the options on the board. I think that his receiving upside is the best out of any of them fantasy wise. And I think that he probably is the most reliable quarterback other than Josh Allen. But out of the other options in this division, I would take Gesicki as a player over Knox. But I obviously hate Tua. So my pick would be Hunter Henry. And I think that he's the safest and best option on the board.
I agree with you. I'm going to split the tie here and say it's Hunter Henry. Number one, because we all dislike the New England Patriots wide receiver options. None of us drafted any of them because they don't really have a wide receiver one.
I was thinking about saying Devontae Parker, but I don't think he has,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have drafted him. I probably would have taken still my guy Dawson Knox.
Yeah. No, I think Hunter Henry has a big bounce back year. I think he proves that he can get open and be part of this offense. And I think Zach Wilson's going to, want that safety blanket that he has at tight end to be able to throw there. So I think he's the best one on the board, but we will see. Obviously, all the coverage of the NFL keeps rolling. Next week, either the AFC West or the NFC West. We have to figure that one out. I think we'll maybe go NFC. That way we save the best division for last. Mm-hmm. And then, Jesse will be back, and maybe we'll get into some predictions. Obviously, like I said, we have our fantasy football draft show on the 29th. And if you haven't yet, we'd love for everybody to go ahead and sign up for our fantasy football league. So you can see that right there, losttribe.org/event/fantasy football. We'll put you in a league. It's free to play, big prizes. So it'll be really exciting. Join us then. For Jack and Zach, let me just say thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next week.